What's up guys, Tim here from Everyday Tactical Vids, and you're looking at the Windone E2 electrical bike. Just got this. Let me take you back to yesterday when I put it together, and then we're gonna walk you through basically the functionality, and we'll take it out onto the road and into the woods. So there's your bike once all the foam is taken off. I've got one of the wheels over here, and then over here, that's all the rest of the parts. Just installed the fender on the front. Make sure that the shorter end is here and the longer end is going out the back. All right, working here on the bike. Let me show you a couple things up close. Headlight goes in easy. Take that bolt out, put it back in. Take that bolt out, put it back in, and then connect the red wires. There's red inside on each of those. So that's how you know to connect the red together. Like that one's orange, that one's black. Easy enough to do. For the front wheel, my recommendation is take this center piece, the shaft, line it up how you want on the tire, and then attach it in and basically just crank it down here and here as well. And just be aware there's a spacer there and there's a spacer there as well. Make sure your brake disc goes into the locking mechanism on the brake, which is right in here. So that's that. Handlebars are easy peasy. So take out 1, 2, 3, 4, put the handlebars in, put this clamp back on, 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is how you center it, right? So put that cross right in the middle. Should be about the same distance up and down and side to side. Now it's nice and centered. All right, a couple other details to share. You do get a bell with it. If you want to attach that to the handlebars, wow, that is loud. You can do that as well. I'm not going to attach it, but maybe in the future I will. You do get a pump as well to inflate your tires. I will tell you, it takes some work to do. It's not going to happen super fast. This actually comes like this, so it's sort of all under control. There are some additional accessories on the bottom, which is cool, and you can use this for more than the bike, obviously, but I put mine up to 25 PSI for each of the tires. You get 2 keys to take the battery out. So basically you put these in, turn, you can take the battery out, take it somewhere else to charge it, and then put them back in, put the battery back in, turn this, lock the battery in place. Charging the battery, a piece of cake. So plug this end into your wall, plug this end into the actual battery, and then there's a little light here, which you can see right there. When that's red, the battery's charging. When it's green, the battery is fully charged. And then putting the battery on is really simple. Just basically click it into place, lock it, and you're good to go. Quick look at battery installation. So basically slide it on like this and then slide it down. And now it's in place. Take your key, put that in there, turn it, take it out. Now that thing's locked in place. All right, let's talk about function. So let's start by looking right here. This is your power button. So turn that on. Now you have power going from the power bank in here, the battery in here, to the rest of the bike. So press this button here, it's on the front, and you'll see this comes on, all right? So that's what your screen looks like. Miles per hour, you can see the tripometer, total mileage. Now on the side here, you've got 2 different buttons. If you press this bottom button, you're gonna see this is going to dim, and the reason is because the front light has come on. If you press this again, it'll turn off the front light. Press this top button and it's going to basically scroll through. So you've got your odometer, you've got your max speed, you've got your average speed, and then you've got your tripometer. And I'm going to go back to the odometer here. And obviously there's miles per hour. Now the way your average electric bike works is like this. Plus and minus is going to increase how fast your bike is going to go. So if I press on the plus button, you're going to see it's going to go to level 1. Again, level 2, 3, 4, up to 5. And if I do minus, it's going to go down here. And your different numbers basically are the max speed that you're going to bike at. So as you're pedaling, if the bike senses, hey, you're going below the speed, it'll automatically kick you in to bring you up to the speed. So let's say your max for a bike, let's just give you round numbers. Let's say 5. Number 5 is 20 miles an hour. If you're biking and you're at 15 miles an hour, it'll basically give you extra power to get you up to that 20. Here's your shifter over here to adjust up and down. It's a 7-speed with a Shimano derailleur. And then you've got this right here. So when you twist this back, you can see I move forward a little bit. That's basically your automatic throttle. And if you're pedaling or not, if you've got it on and you crank this back, it's going to kick the bike up. Got your brake and your brake. So you've got 5 different levels. Let me give you a sense of miles per hour. You're looking at about 8, 13 and a half, about 18 or so, a little over 20, and then up to 25. Now, it's hard to give you exact numbers because you have to be on a perfectly flat area without any rise or incline. If you're going up a little bit, it's going to work a little bit harder. If you're going down, it's going to give you extra mileage per hour. But you're talking, give or take, about 5 mile an hour increments. So I just took this on a spin through the woods and I put it on the lowest speed because I was going over lots of roots and things like that. And then when I needed extra help, if I could, and I felt comfortable doing it there, I could pedal. And then if not, I could just give myself a little bit of extra power with the automatic accelerator, and I would go over things. If you're doing anything that's off-road, I would make sure you keep your setting at, say, 1 or 2 until you get really comfortable with what you're doing. Because if you crank down on that extra acceleration, you're going to take off. If you get that set at 25, you're going to be tearing through the woods out of control. If you've never ridden an electric bike, I want to encourage you, like, go out to a safe space and ride it and get comfortable with, you know, so you're not looking down and getting distracted. There's a lot of moving parts, no pun intended, but a lot of moving parts with an electric bike. And so you can get distracted by right hand, left hand, extra acceleration, shifting, pedaling, lights on, lights off, a lot of moving parts. So just be careful when you're out there doing it. So now that being said, let me head out to the woods and I'm going to get some footage of me riding this thing. If you've never ridden a fat tire bike, just be aware that it's loud. It's not loud like screaming in your ears, but it's louder than if you're riding a road bike and even a mountain bike because of how wide the tires are. So when you go over things, you can be like, oh, what's that weird sound? It just makes more noise because the tire is so big. We're here in my yard right now. We're going to test it out in the yard and then we'll take it off into the woods. Here we go. All right, guys, let's wrap up here talking about this Windone E2 electric bike. So, pluses, it's a lot of fun. I'm enjoying riding it. As you saw in the footage, I got off-road and it handled it well. If you haven't ridden a bike or an e-bike that's got a shock system, sometimes when you come down, the metal of kind of where the shock ends at the top and the bottom can boom, hit each other, hit click, and you're like, oh my gosh, what did I do? Just be aware that's kind of a natural thing. You'll learn as you ride more and more to become more and more comfortable with, like, you know, how much weight do you put in different places on the bike as you're riding. So lots of fun. Speed up to 25 miles an hour. That's going to give you, depending on how fast you're going, how much you're using the assist, quite a range. I would certainly ride downtown on this. I would ride to go see friends. If you're in a place where, like, I'm in a city and I just need to commute back and forth, I want an e-bike. I don't know why you'd get one with such big tires. I'd get one that's a little bit more, probably going to be more fuel efficient because you don't need the advantage of the big tires going off-road. If there's any chance you are going to go off-road, it is nice to have those big fat tires when you're riding. A couple of things I want to let you know. When I was climbing on, I kicked part of the little plastic frame that goes around the tail light, and it just snapped off. So it's not really sturdy plastic back there. It is just the section around the tail light. I'm going to glue it back on. It'll be fine, but just a heads up on that. And also the kickstand, not great. I mean, the bike weighs 95 pounds when you're not on it. And so the angle that the kickstand is at is really steep. And so I would put this thing down, even in my basement, totally level, and it would start to, like, fall over. It fell over at least once. So there's, I think, a couple hex nuts. I'm just going to pop those off, and I'm basically just going to lean it up against something or lay it gently on the ground. So that's me. You might be able to mess with the kickstand to adjust it, so it'll work better for you, but for me, I'm taking it off. The other thing is, because when you're going over bumps off-roading, the kickstand can kind of, even though it has a spring, it can kind of drop down and kick back up, and you can hear this like, and you're like, what's that sound? Again, you'll get used to the various sounds, but I would hate to have the kickstand come down and get jammed up on something and throw me off balance. So I'm not finding it's going to be particularly helpful, so I'm going to get rid of it. Now, the instruction manual has quite a bit of information. A lot of those instruction manuals, once you get beyond the assembly process and the basic operation, it goes into like tons of warranties. It's just insurance mumbo jumbo that they have to put in there. I get it. They do give you some information on charging the battery properly, when to discharge it, you know, if you're not going to ride it for a while, how you should set the battery up. They don't give you a ton of information on the mileage per hour in there, so heads up on that. Another thing for me, that's not a problem, but when you have a disc brake, you've got a disc here, and then you've got two things that are basically gonna close on the disc. And right now it's dragging a little bit. There are a bunch of hex bolts around the locking mechanism, or the braking mechanism, I should say, on the front. So I'm gonna adjust those a little bit so when I'm riding, I don't hear it doesn't drag the whole time, but as it goes around, it goes like just ever so slightly. But a heads up on that, you can adjust that relatively simply. It looks like it's similar to disc brakes on, you know, your average bike or, you know, other vehicle that's using a disc brake. So I'll adjust that slightly, and that should take care of that. Bottom line for me is that I do have another electric bike. That one's going to get sold. This is the one I'm keeping. I don't need multiple electric bikes. My family doesn't use them. I'm the one who uses them. And I just like this one. I love the fact it can go off-road. It can stay on road easily. I can ride downtown. I can go off in the woods. And when I go off to, I'm pointing that way because it's that way, in the next town where I shoot a lot of videos, I can just throw my gear in a backpack, hop on this, and then take off, and I'll be ready to rock and roll. Price point for this, you're looking at around $1,000. There's e-bikes that are way less expensive. I haven't found many that have the big fat tires and all that this offers. There's also e-bikes that are way more expensive that have just a ton more features. I think this is sort of middle of the road for your price point for what I've seen. And so far, this thing has been a lot of fun to use. The assembly was easy. Figuring it out, once you've ridden an e-bike, it's pretty much the same system across the board. Yeah, it's been great. I really enjoyed it so far. And it's November now. The weather's going to be getting cooler, but I'm happy to ride this thing with these big fat tires. I can ride it safely, but, you know, slowly, carefully, in the snow even. And I'll ride it through the cold weather as long as I bundle up. Real quick, I want to note, check down in the description section on this video, because if there's a discount code, that's where it's going to be, and you can save some money on purchasing this bike. That's about it for me. Thanks for tuning into this video. Let's hear your thoughts and your feedback on this e-bike, or if you have an e-bike, stay tuned for more updates and videos. And if I have any more information about this bike, I'll be putting it out on social media, including additional discount codes for this bike, other ones from this company, and accessories that they might sell as well. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys soon.